Welcome back to the Norfolk Broads on what turned out to be a very wet and windy weekend. The weather did improve in the days following, so come with us and see what we got up to this time. We'd spent 24 hours on the boat without leaving the marina and felt we needed to escape for a few hours. After all, there is a limit to how many games of Yahtzee the two of you can play. We knew the weather was going to be bad for the rest of Sunday. Very windy, extremes of rise and fall in the tide and strong currents. Not the sort of conditions for newcomers to boating such as us. So we headed out to Beccles for some food shopping and decided to check out Reedham Ferry on the way back. This turned out to be a pretty wet trip down narrow roads. Autumn had definitely arrived with some spectacular colours, but all somewhat muted by the leaden skies. At least we had the roads to ourselves. The sensible people obviously stayed at home, no doubt in front of a log fire. We knew the water levels would be high, but we hadn't expected the riverbanks to have been breached in places. Even with our limited knowledge and experience of the Broads, we knew we'd made the right decision not to venture out on the boat today. The sheer speed of the water as it passed our viewpoint was incredible. We later learned that weather and river conditions were close to the limit of safe operation for the ferry. The operators are always reluctant to close the ferry as it means a 30-mile detour to cross at the next nearest bridge. But they will close it if conditions deteriorate to such a point that it becomes unsafe to operate. Numerous foot ferries were in use from the late 17th century. Later, some were replaced by rope-drawn ferries capable of moving horses across the river. Some of these expanded to move horse and carts. However, slowly most declined until only the Reedham Ferry remained. The current ferry was built in Alton Broad in 1984 and is the only chain-drawn ferry still in service in the UK. Back at the marina, the high tide had overflowed onto the access road, but only to a depth of about 4 inches. We've seen it before, but not quite on this scale. However, it quickly drained away and the weather improved for the rest of the weekend. This meant Alfie could actually go out on longer walks and meet up with his old friend who lives in a cottage bordering the marina. The night was wrapped up with a gorgeous sunset that we just stood and watched for some while. As the skies cleared and darkened, the moon came out, the reflection on the surface of the marina water looking lovely and promised a good few days to come. Day 3, breakfast stop at 20 to 1. Mel's been wanting porridge for ages, so I said alright, we'll get underway because we're on our way to Beccles for the night and we'll stop on the way and have porridge, which is what we're doing now. And this is probably the quietest you'll hear Mel unless she's fishing. Right, we've moored up in a new place for us and I decided to follow a long track. Actually ends up at the railway line at a crossing on a sort of mud path. But on the way back we discovered these and I have absolutely no idea what they are. Obviously some type of fungus, but as to whether they're edible or not, I wouldn't like to hazard a guess. And I'm certainly not going to try it. But amazing the things you find when you're just out on a walk. Hey Alfie, the things we find when we're out on a walk. And good morning from Alfie, who, because it's nearly 8 o'clock, has decided we have to be awake again. So here we are, and now he wants to go out. And I don't want to take him out, and I'll show you why. This is where we're parked, what's called Riverside or Riverbank side at Beccles. Parked, moored, yeah, whatever. But we're experiencing spring tides. Yeah, I know it's autumn, but they call them spring tides, and they're very high, as you can see. Now, coupled with the dew on that grass and just how high the water is, you just know that Alfie, when he comes back, is going to look like a soggy sponge. But we have to go, so hey ho, catch up with you in a bit. Even Alfie's thinking twice about stepping on the wet grass. But it is another gorgeous morning. We're really getting to like this boating lark. Of course, now the marina's empty. We're at the end of the season now, and it's so quiet, it really is. On the trip up here yesterday, which was about 2 hours sailing time, we saw just 2 boats, and one of them was this hire boat. So all the marinas are full now, nothing's on the water. which is great for us, we don't mind. The church tower only has 3 clock faces. The 4th face faced the sea, so folk didn't want to pay for a clock face no one would read. Or, as has been said, Beccles folk wouldn't give Gillingham folk the time of day. Well, I have to say a walk around Beccles is very pleasant. Loads of little alleys to explore. Huge range of shops. Yeah, your normal high streets, but also a lot of other ones. A lot of independents. And the buildings are absolutely fascinating. So many different styles. Really nice place to come to. Lots of little pathways like this through the buildings. They all seem to end up at the river. I'm going to be a little bit wary down here because it looks a little bit soggy. There we go. And true to form, nothing seems particularly flat round here the moment you walk away from the water. But what an interesting little street this is. So many different designs of buildings. So straight ahead leads on to the town centre, and coming here will take us back down to the quay. What a lovely blue sky. What a gorgeous day to be out and about. Walking back up from the river on the grass, I couldn't see in front of me because the sun was straight in my eyes. Turns out I could have made a shortcut, but looking at just how steep those steps are, I don't think I would have got up here breathless. Actually, I would have got up here breathless. In fact, I think I would have crawled the last few bits. I don't know how many of these buildings are listed grade 2 or grade 1, or even if there's a conservation order on the area. But it's a credit to the people that own them, and a credit to the council if they have any say in how they're maintained. It's so interesting, both at street level and at roof level. So many different designs of architecture. The Flemish house with its typical Flemish frontage. I'd like to know what the ESR represents. Cambridge Score. Again, another route down to the river. The river obviously playing an immense part in the history of Beccles. And another easy access to the river, Railway Score. I wonder why Score? When there's no traffic, it's so peaceful down here as well. Beccles has quite an intricate one-way system. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It certainly wasn't designed for big cars, more probably designed for ponies and traps and hand carts and the like. Look at the detailing above the windows. Obviously a commercial property at one stage, I would have thought. Now, I'm no expert on buildings, but I'm wondering if at one point that building was thatched, just by the shape and the angle of the roof. I don't know, I could be wrong. Probably am wrong. Perhaps somebody can advise. Now this practical van hire, but I just love this. If I can get close enough that you can see through the reflections. It's everything that's going on in there. And I'd love to see what's under that cover as well. But I guess that's a thing for another day. Ah, the tannery. And maybe it wasn't thatched at one point. Might be a bad idea for a tannery. I don't know. Possibly. Remains to be seen. Now, if I remember back to my school days, would that be Tudor influence? Certainly a lovely looking building. I also love the fact that nothing seems to be square.
It wasn't a bad journey.
We'll make the building fit the land. Not like the little boxes we have made today. And just like that, we're almost back at the quay. Beccles is certainly an interesting place with a rich history, and we look forward to exploring further and sharing our findings with you. Supper time, and the best fish and chips for miles around. You would have cottoned on by now that if there's a hill to find, I'll find it. I haven't got Alfie with me now because it's easier to film when he's not with me. But we went out here earlier and found a couple of interesting things, which is why I'm out and about now to video them to share with you. So I hope it's worth the walk. Reedham's an interesting place, a mix of new and old. This is the older end near the quay, near the boatyards, and as we go up here you'll see a really strange mix of, I wouldn't say derelict, I think they're used, but not often. So, and this one really gets me. The best pizza in town. But quite what it is, don't really know. Maybe it was something that worked during the summer, but now we're coming up to the end of October. Possibly not anymore. Anyway, we'll carry on walking around and see what else we can find. But when I say about a mix of the new and the old, you get things like this. And they've obviously got a good view of the whole riverfront without the risk of being flooded. The War Memorial, the focal point of any village, but this one has something else, and that's this. Now I can't remember, I'll have to check back on the other video we made, but wasn't the 385th bomb group out of I've forgotten the name, down near Saxman and Framlingham way? I'll have a look and correct that, I could be wrong. This is one of the oddities we found, isn't it beautiful? Apparently done by a local artist, and he's done a few around the place, but it's absolutely gorgeous. I need to be careful, so I don't want to tell you exactly where the house is. Obviously the privacy of the people that live here is important, but what a gorgeous use for a dead tree. I don't know how well you can hear this, but the red flag flying is a signal to the boat operators that there are crew inside that can respond to the horn or the radio and open the swing bridge for larger vessels that haven't got the 8'6" clearance necessary. Now every village has this, where the names of the locals are scratched into the brickwork or into the paint on the pipe, as in the village where I was brought up. Local history that nobody ever notices. This railway bridge is a superb piece of civil engineering, and the people that drive over it are totally oblivious to what's underneath. The classic Norfolk wherry, a sailboat unique to the Broads, carried coal, timber, lime, chalk, cement, ale, grain and many other goods and people. Many wherries were built and repaired at Reedham. This sculpture pays homage to the many riverside carpenters that tended the wherries. Some carpenters were also landlords of nearby pubs such as the Lord Nelson. Our 2-night stay at Reedham ended with a fantastic dinner at said pub. The food was superb, the host very convivial, and it didn't cost an arm and a leg either. Being dog friendly is also a bonus. This pub is definitely on our favourites list now, and even has a mooring for customers only. Our little boat looks lost amongst these beautiful boats. As newcomers to boating, we thought there would be an element of one-upmanship. How wrong were we? Everyone we have met in this boating community has been extremely pleasant and is as interested in our boat as we are in theirs. We've had many pleasant conversations, received lots of helpful advice and learnt so much in such a short time. We love it. Thank you for watching, always a pleasure. If you liked what you see, then please hit the like button, and if you want to subscribe, that would be great too. Comments always welcome. Until the next time, stay safe.